All right, let's dive right into this explainer and map out the stabilization of the GTA's commercial and industrial real estate market. If you've been navigating the market over the last few years, you know it's been a pretty wild ride. But the tide is turning, and moving from that sheer panic to a strategic advantage is going to be the difference between overpaying and securing a massive win for your business.
So here's our blueprint for today. We'll cover 1, the market stabilization, 2, the industrial two-speed market, 3, retail and office shifts, 4, your negotiation advantage, and 5, headwinds and future supply. Let's get right into the data.
Section 1. The market has stabilized, moving from panic to balance. Right now, we're looking at an overall GTA industrial vacancy rate of about 3.8 to 4.1%. Now compare that directly against the literal panic-inducing sub-1% lows we saw just a couple of years ago. Back then, trying to find industrial space was honestly like trying to find water in a desert. Tenants were panic-leasing just to make sure they had a roof over their operations. But today, having a vacancy rate hovering around 4% is a massive sigh of relief. It's a welcome normalization that actually gives businesses room to breathe and plan.
And because of this normalization, those crazy average net asking rents have finally cooled down. They've settled into the mid to high teens per square foot, averaging roughly $16 to $16.50 plus triple net, depending on your submarket. Obviously, that means the tenant covers taxes, insurance, and maintenance. But the big takeaway here is that those aggressive, seemingly endless rent hikes have slowed down, which is absolutely crucial for predictable financial forecasting.
Zooming out a bit beyond strict vacancy, overall availability is tracking around 5.5 to 5.8%. We can officially say the industrial market has moved past its peak panic leasing phase. The market is successfully digesting all that recent inventory that was rushed to construction during the boom, and we're reaching a much more sustainable equilibrium.
But that brings us to Section 2, the industrial two-speed market and widening divide.
You see, not all spaces are experiencing this relief equally. We are currently living in a market that is moving at 2 completely different paces. Underneath the surface-level stabilization, a massive gap is opening up in demand and performance strictly based on the age and specs of the building.
It basically comes down to Class A, new supply, versus older, second-generation space. On one hand, you have highly sought-after, energy-efficient modern spaces. On the other hand, landlords of older legacy buildings are facing some seriously intense competitive pressure. It's no longer a rising tide lifting all boats. Tenants are becoming incredibly selective about where they park their operations.
So what exactly do modern tenants want? Well, they're looking for very specific features. They need high clearance, we're talking 32 to 36 feet or more just to maximize vertical racking. They absolutely want to be near major 400 series corridors for rapid distribution, which is why major nodes like Mississauga, Vaughan, and Milton are still absorbing huge footprints. Businesses today want automated, future-proofed spaces. And because of this flight to quality, landlords with lower clearance second-generation spaces are being forced to offer much softer terms, or they're just going to sit on the market longer.
All right, Section 3, retail and office shifts, resilience and recovery.
The industrial sector isn't the only one shifting. If your business relies on strong foot traffic, you'll be glad to know that retail and high-density commercial strips are maintaining incredible resilience. Despite all the broader economic noise globally, well-located plaza spaces in the GTA are seeing very steady demand. Prime retail real estate is clearly still highly coveted.
Meanwhile, the office sector is showing a pretty fascinating localized recovery. It's a tale of 2 locations, prime office nodes versus secondary and suburban offices. Core financial and transit hubs, like North York and the downtown prime nodes, are seeing a lot of leasing momentum, largely driven by strict return to office mandates. But that contrasts sharply with secondary downtown locations and suburban offices, which are definitely still dealing with elevated sublet spaces.
In those softer, secondary markets, the dynamic has fundamentally shifted. Landlords are feeling the pressure, and they're having to get incredibly creative. They are increasingly offering substantial tenant inducement or TI packages just to secure those crucial long-term commitments. If you're an office tenant looking at these secondary markets, this is a major point of leverage for your budget right now.
Which leads us to the most important strategic question. With the stabilization of rents, the two-speed divide, and pockets of office softness, who actually holds the power now?
That brings us to Section 4, your negotiation advantage. This is the tenant's window.
The current market conditions heavily favor prepared occupiers. Whether you're looking to relocate, expand, or consolidate, the leverage has shifted directly to your side of the table. Right now is the ideal time to capitalize on increased landlord flexibility. You can secure extremely favorable lease concessions, generous build-out allowances to customize your space, and flexible renewal options that simply wouldn't have been entertained 2 years ago. You have a wider window of choice, and if you plan effectively, you can lock in terms that will benefit your bottom line for the next decade.
But don't get too comfortable. Section 5, Headwinds in Future Supply, and the upcoming deadline.
This strategic window of opportunity has a strict deadline. We have some major macro headwinds to contend with. Evolving trade policies, adjustments to the CUSMA framework, and ongoing input costs are changing how everyone budgets for logistics expansion. But more importantly, high financing and development costs are currently slamming the brakes on new construction starts. Developers just aren't breaking ground like they used to.
Let's map out this timeline so you see exactly why you need to act now. Present day, high costs are slowing down new construction starts. In the near term, those new construction pipelines are going to begin tapering off. And by late 2027, upcoming supply deliveries are forecasted to drop sharply. This 2027 supply drop is going to act as a major market corrective. It will put a firm floor under rental rates, completely preventing any sort of race to the bottom for landlords. Because once that new supply dries up, the leverage swings right back to the property owners.
So, I'll leave you with this. Will you secure your lease concessions before the 2027 supply drop hits? Given this shrinking pipeline, you urgently need to rethink your corporate real estate timelines to capture the leverage you hold today. The market is stabilized, the two-speed divide offers unique opportunities depending on your needs, and landlords are ready to make a deal. But that window won't stay open forever. Take that question back to your planning team today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next analysis.